It started in the US and then it's gone abroad. The Forbes 30 under 30 is international. Tell us about it.
Oh, so we do every year, we do Europe and Asia, as Steve said. So those are two lists. Because I think, with the North America list, you're just looking at US and Canada, and there's so much talent elsewhere. So we are actually kicking off our search for Europe nominations this week, hoping to launch that in the spring. And we look at people from all across Europe. So last year, we had some of the journalists who were reporting in Ukraine on our list and highlighted them and the work we do there. We've also had people like Manskyne, who are musicians abroad, who are really exciting. So we want to spotlight a diverse amount of people.
Yeah, and it's always about community behind this. Like the reason why we started Under 30, it's not just, of course, yes, we want to celebrate these folks and let the world know, here's some new people, new ideas. But the thought was, most of these people they're founders, they're entrepreneurs, they're starting stuff. And when you're and their peer group was like, these folks, like their friends are like worried about getting raises and getting promoted or with their jobs. If you're under 30, you're worried about hiring. You're the one firing. You're going through fundraising. You're going through stress. You're going out. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're kind of like social group. Very few people are going through that with you. So the important thing is, let's get this group together that has these shared experiences, and they're having problems that people usually don't face. They're having wins and losses that people don't usually face till they're in their 40s and 50s. So let's get them together. And we also love the community because they're all builders, but in different things. So you might have, and we see it at the summit, you might have someone who's super like technical genius and they're amazing at coding, and they've started a company, and they meet someone who's amazing at marketing or fashion or design, and it's just like the best yin and yang, and they really talk and they hit it off, and they get such inspiration, and they can solve each other's problems because they're so good at so many different things, and we put them together, whether it's formal or just like, hey, let's get a drink and talk about your branding, or how do you fix this database? It's these kind of opposites attract, which is really kind of fun.
I love that they're the movers and shakers, the young ones in their industry. But Kristin, you broke down this year's list by the numbers. What can you tell us about that?
I did. We had some fascinating stats that I'm excited to share with you. The first of which being that the average under 30 works 64 hours a week. Very much bigger than the normal work week that most of us have. Collectively, they've raised $5 billion plus in funding, which is huge. And 27 is the average age of our lister, but the youngest this year is 15 years old. Another interesting stat was that 49% of the people on our list self-identify as a person of color, which, as Steve alluded to earlier with the diversity, is huge. Last year we had 47%. So we continue to grow more and more in that. And nearly a quarter are immigrants, which is also exciting. And the final stat that I will share with you is that this is the year that we had the most Gen Zers ever. So 22% of our list is considered Gen Z.
So why do you think that Gen Z made such an impact this year?
I think it's because, and I cringe at saying this because I'm a millennial, but millennials are getting old. And
I'm a millennial too.
Okay, good.
I see us on social media getting more relevant by the day.
Exactly. So I think we're seeing like this new cohort of people who this is, what they're doing. I think the oldest millennial right now is 40, which is really sad, and I'm depressed to say it, but Gen Z is really taking over the world and clearly showing us that on the under 30 list.
So from that, what is a common theme that you both saw on the list this year?
One thing that it's always so inspirational and also like shocking is that how many companies and ideas were started during the pandemic, started during lockdown, or started because to either solve a problem, or someone's like, hey, I'm at home and I have a couple ideas. Like the fact that someone like me who could barely tie their shoes during COVID, the innovation kept on coming, and it kept on just.
What was a pandemic idea that was born? So
many of these under 30s started their companies during the pandemic, and they're not necessarily, COVID or pandemic, inspired companies. One, our education call out, Harrison Hockman from a company called Sparrow, and their goal is to be it's for student loans, and it's like the Expedia of student loans. And he came across this as went to Stanford, and he was at Stanford, and when they were closing the school for COVID, everyone was like, doing their flights and flying all over the world, flying all over the country to get back. And then he's like, well, that's so easy. Why is, getting my student loans, reams of paperwork and all this stuff? So he's like, why can't I make, and then he was home with all his downtime. He goes, what if I can kind of simplify the user experience and create this whole new, easy system for student loans? And that was that inspiration. He did it when he was at home with his parents on school leave.
And another great story that I love is the one of Ben Parker, who is our energy call out. So he was a former Tesla guy, and he decided, I'm going to quit and try and start my own company. And he is making RVs that are electric, and his company is called Lightship. And during the pandemic, just to get a feel of kind of what living in an RV would be like, because he had never lived in one before, he decided to just take a pandemic road trip, him in an RV, and see, talk to other truckers on the road, talk to RV people on the road, see the pain points, and see what making an electric RV would be like. So I thought that was fascinating, and they're two really interesting guys.
So you both have worked on the list for a while. Steve, you said you worked on it every single year. So how have you seen it really evolve within your time at Forbes?
Yeah, one way people on the list have evolved in ways changed is that, well, it's one thing's constant and one thing is always changing. Is they're all like on the forefront of the latest technologies, and they're using that technology and theme as a wave. Like early on, we had people like Mark Zuckerberg and Kevin Systrom from Instagram, and they kind of created these big networks. But then suddenly you had people building companies on top of Instagram, on top of Twitter, on top of Facebook, and that's evolved. But the companies and things have changed, whether it's on the cloud or whether it's on a TikTok or whether it's on YouTube and influencers. So the technology is always changing, but there's always a huge group of folks who are basically building these surfboards and surfing on the hottest new technology or surfing on the hottest new trend. Or last year it was all Bitcoin, or crypto. This year not so much, but you always find these folks who are on the cutting edge of the next thing, which we love under 30.
Mm.
So looking back, who are some notable alum that are on the top of your head?
I think my favorite, and this is just me personally because I love these two people, in the music world, Adele and Ariana Grande, and Taylor Swift. Obviously, huge names for me. But Steve, I think you've interviewed a ton of our business under 30. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I love when every year we have a few folks, like we see the under 30 as like a sports analogy, like our farm team or like our AAA baseball team. So every year we have folks who were on the under 30 like a year ago or a couple of years ago, and they jump from that to either our billionaire list, or they jump to our power women list, or they jump to our top earning celebrity lists. And I love these folks that, like for example, Kevin Systrom from Instagram, Daniel Ek from Spotify, Whitney Wolf Herd from Bumble, Donald Glover, the media sensation, Hollywood sensation. All these folks were not just on the under 30 list, but they came into Forbes when they were getting started. They got photographed, they got videoed, and then a couple of years later they exploded. And we love that because it makes us look smart. And
totally.
It's good to kind of they give not give people their first start, but again kind of help on that kind of trajectory. And that's really special for us.